Naruto holds a special, awkward place in my heart. I've watched anime since before Toonami, but Naruto was the very first sub-show I ever watched. It was also the show that got me to level up my weebness and begin reading manga. Being a 16-year-old martial artist who actually trained with ankle weights, this iconic scene from Rock Lee left me feeling enthralled in a way that very few shows have ever been able to do. Yet despite that, I followed the wave of Naruto going from cultural icon, both in Japan and overseas, to the walking punchline it has become. It doesn't make me happy to say that, and I would have loved for the Naruto world to have kept going. But somewhere along the way, the Naruto world fell apart. And that's what this video is here to analyze. We're going to help you understand what exactly happened, something you probably felt underneath the surface but couldn't quite put into words. Whatever story you are watching or reading, there is always a structure. Most of us are familiar with some of the more basic forms, such as conflict, escalation, climax, resolution. Accompanying that is world building, giving you a sense of the story you have just thrown yourself into. What are the rules of the story? Its society, its mechanics. Stories could do things in one of two ways. One is to have a solid, rigid structure where you know the limitations of what people can or cannot do.
What's with her?
Oh, is she doing it again today?
Again?
She's going to be marking the wall like that every day because I used my Gios on her to make her do it.
Gios?
The name of the power I have. That's what I heard when we first made contact.
You're testing how long it lasts?
I need to know the specs of my weapon, don't I?
In High School of the Dead, for example, despite some of their more, gravity-defying physics, they have set the parameters of how their zombies work. They don't respond to touch, they can't see, they're only attracted by sound. If they suddenly sprout their wings and chase people down by smell, the show would lose most of its appeal, as after a certain point it's no longer High School of the Dead. Death Note is an excellent example of world building with rigid rules, because that unchanging structure is part of the plot. An intellectual cat and mouse game where each participant must work within the framework that they have. You learn about the rules pretty early on, and they do not change. New elements might be added in, but those elements always obey the rules. A show could also have a more loose structure, letting people push against those boundaries to help further expand. Almost all shonen battle shows fall into this category, some better than others. Dragon Ball does an excellent job of this, with trying to explain why Goku needs to get stronger, and how they introduce new stronger enemies. Way back in the beginning, he goes up against some weak emperor vying for global domination. Then he's introduced to the martial arts tournament where he needs to defeat skilled martial artists, including his master, which he inevitably fails at. Then he needs to take on a whole army, with mercenaries who expand the world of strong people, without retconning the martial arts tournament being full of the strongest fighters. The next tournament comes by, with a student from a rival school being introduced just to defeat Goku and his master. Power scale increases in a way that doesn't do away with what we already know. At this point, we have a view of the strongest fighters on the planet. How do we move on? They use the Dragon Balls to wish back an ancient evil. After that, we fight the son of the great evil. At the end of that tournament, Goku is crowned the strongest person on the planet. How do you introduce a new threat? You go outside the planet, bringing in aliens. It pushes the boundaries we are familiar with, but it doesn't break them. So what does Naruto do? They set up their world with rules, ways to measure power, ranking systems, and give it a historical backing to boot. Naruto isn't stepping into a brand new world he knows nothing about. He was born into the Leaf Village. Much of this world building takes place in the very first arc, an arc that I feel does not get as much respect as it deserves, the Zabuza arc. There are several things that gets put into place here. First of all, we have already been informed that Kakashi is an elite of the elite, one of the strongest shinobi around. During Team 7's first fight with Zabuza, we get more world building in terms of combat. Here is when we come to truly understand that this is a land of many amazing techniques, and it's not a typical shonen game of power scaling, but rather how you use those skills and abilities. Kakashi, the elite of the elite, gets trapped in a water prison, and yet these Genin, who we have been shown to be nothing more than a joke compared to these elites, manage to come up with a plan to outsmart the villain using tools. This also sets up the idea that maybe things like shuriken have a place in this world, and even basic techniques like transforming can be used on an important scale. That's a vital aspect. In the world of Naruto, at least at this point, is one of subtlety and deception. After Kakashi escapes, we are introduced to this scene.
Ushisaru u ne I tori ushi uma tori ne tora inu tora mi ushi hitsuji mi I hitsuji ne.
Ushisaru u ne I tori ushi uma tori ne tora inu tora mi ushi hitsuji mi I hitsuji ne. Jin saru tori tatsu tori ushi uma hitsuji tora mi ne saru u I tatsu hitsuji ne ushi saru tori jin ne I. Tori! Water style! Water dragon jutsu!
Look at how long it takes to launch such a high-level technique. Part of the lore is that these techniques require those hand signs to launch. How often do you see any of those hand signs later on? Almost never. Not only that, but this high-level technique, performed by two of the elites, looks incredibly tame compared to the insanity that we see at the end of Shippuden. After we get introduced to Haku, Kakashi tells us something important in this world.
In this world, there are kids who are younger than you, and yet stronger than me.
This is good, because it lets us know that despite all we've seen here, there is still room to see even more amazing things from special, gifted people. A few other key points in this arc that led us to what I felt were red herrings of the show. Team 7 was out on a mission for another village. We never got to see anything like that again outside of filler. This means that things like the Manji formation and any other potential formations are pointless. You probably don't even know what I'm referring to.
Now quick! Manji formation! Protect the bridge builders.
It gave us an idea of outside non-ninja forces that could matter. I'm fairly certain that after this arc, anyone and anything not directly tied to ninjas ceases to exist. They gave us a taste outside the ninja world. You know, the one that ninjas are supposed to work for. Then never mention it again. It isn't just at the Zabuza arc where all of this happens. The Chunin exams was arguably one of the best arcs in the entire series, where it gives an expanded glimpse at both ninja within and outside the Leaf Village. The entrance exam focused on them using the ninja techniques in non-combat ways to gather information for the clients. The Force of Death, they had to acquire 2 different scrolls with very little information and had to not look at the scrolls because the client wouldn't want them to. They also had to focus on surviving as much as combat. After the Force of Death, we get that mini tournament elimination arc, one that they went out of their way to mention that it is out of the ordinary, seeing as how ninja don't usually fight as simply as this, but they gotta get this over with. At the final stages of the Chunin exams, we again had a one-on-one combat scenario, but it is stressed by the fact that the only person passing this was somebody who gave up. The purpose was not to see who wins, but to see how they fared as a ninja, and the strategist was the only one who passed. Finally, the invasion and mini-war that took place where we got to see a Hokage level battle. The Kage are the strongest in the respective villages, and we got to see a dazzling spectacle that definitely surpassed what we witnessed with Kakashi and Zabuza. Why does that matter? We are somewhere around 60 episodes in at this point, and the world is still intact. No rules have been broken. We got to expand the possibilities with the Kage level battle, but it's still within the realm of everything we know. Remember, these aren't lazy ninja. They all fought in a war only a decade or 2 ago. They are downright battle hardened, especially compared to the current generation. They had to either be the best or die. And technically, this is all just the second set of events following the Zabuza arc. So it's not like the idea of the outside ninja world and missions cease to exist. It's just the main focus right now has been entirely about the ninja world. At this point, we don't know how the rest of the story will play out. From here until the end of Naruto Part 1, it gets to be a little bit all over the place. The summoning of the 3 giant animals, making them fight, was kind of pushing some boundaries. The Cursed Mark level 2 kind of felt out of place. But overall, it still felt like a story. A story that dropped a lot of its world building for the sake of pure ninja battles, but a world nonetheless. Then came Shippuden. That montage should speak for itself. Hand signs stopped being a thing, running out of chakra didn't matter, Naruto went from a hardworking loser to the literal incarnation of Jesus. Stealth and intelligence made way to brute absolute power in kaiju battles. Nearly all of the supporting cast became essentially useless by the end. Questions of how can person A defeat person B with what he knows, and can he use that to defeat person C went out of the window. I have outright skipped Boruto, so I don't know if they fixed any of these problems. If you are a writer of any sort, and you're watching this video, take this lesson to heart. Don't jump the shark. If you set up parameters and measuring sticks, stick with them. If you're going to increase the size of the measuring stick, be sure to go from a foot to a yard, not a foot to a city block. And make sure to explain why that stick increased. Naruto becoming stronger than anything we saw in Part 1 was entirely plausible without going to the extent that they did. But alas, we went from a show about ninjas to a show asking what if Dragon Ball power scaling was done with ninjas. I hope other stories in the future don't repeat this mistake. Thank you all for watching my first ever video like this. If you liked it, please share it on social media, and if you can, donate to our PayPal down below. If you don't want to donate, check out my store, The Dragon's Treasured, link down below. We sell anime-themed tea and tea accessories, accessories being things like color-changing mugs, and we are looking to grow more and more in the anime community. Your support is more appreciated than you might realize, and we look forward to producing better and better content for everyone. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.